Have you ever replayed an argument in your head for hours, maybe even days, thinking of everything you wish you had said? Someone disappointed you. Someone crossed a line. Someone said something that stayed with you long after the conversation ended. But instead of saying, "That really hurt me," you said, "I'm fiend." Or maybe you stopped replying. You became quieter. You acted like nothing happened. Then later, when you were alone, the emotions finally came. If this keeps happening, you might think you're bad at communication. But what if that's not the real problem? What if your silence isn't a lack of words? It's a survival strategy you learned long before you even understood what emotions were. Today we're exploring why some people completely shut down when they're hurt, and why speaking up can feel more terrifying than staying silent. Silence isn't calm. People often mistake shutting down for being emotionally mature. I don't like drama. I just let things go. I don't want conflict. Sometimes that's true, but sometimes you're not avoiding conflict. You're avoiding the feeling that comes after conflict. The racing heart, the fear they'll leave, the fear they'll laugh, the fear they'll think you're too sensitive, the silence, why speaking up feels dangerous. Imagine a child who cries because they're hurt. Instead of comfort, they hear, "Stop crying. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. You're making a big deal out of nothing." Eventually something changes. The child doesn't stop feeling hurt. They simply stop showing it. Their brain learns a rule. Being honest about pain creates more pain. Years later, that child becomes an adult. Now, every disagreement unconsciously feels like the same emotional risk. Even if the other person is kind, their nervous system still expects rejection. This is why many adults freeze during emotional conversations. Not because they don't know what they feel, because their body believes honesty isn't safe. The identity conflict nobody notices. Here's the hidden contradiction. You desperately want people to understand you, but you hide the very information they would need to understand you. You wait for people to notice you're hurt. When they don't, it feels like proof they never cared. But they never saw what was happening inside you. It's an impossible test. You expect mind reading because asking directly feels emotionally dangerous. The tragedy is that your silence protects you, while simultaneously creating the loneliness you fear most. The real cost of staying silent. People think silence avoids conflict. It doesn't. It delays it. Every unsaid sentence becomes stored resentment. Every hidden disappointment becomes emotional distance. Eventually, people around you hear this sentence. "I've been feeling this way for months." And they're shocked. Not because your feelings aren't valid, because they never knew there was a problem. Silence protects the relationship today while slowly damaging it tomorrow. What speaking up actually looks like. Speaking up isn't becoming loud. It isn't winning arguments. It isn't proving someone wrong. Sometimes it's simply saying, "That comment stayed with me. I felt hurt. I don't think you meant to upset me, but you did." These are incredibly difficult sentences for someone whose identity has always been, "Don't be a burden." The goal isn't to stop feeling afraid. The goal is learning that fear doesn't always predict reality. Not everyone will reject honesty. Some people have been waiting for you to trust them enough to share it. Closing reflection. If you always shut down when you're hurt, Don't judge yourself too quickly. Silence often begins as protection. The problem is that what once protected you may now be preventing the closeness you actually want. Healing isn't learning how to speak perfectly. It's slowly teaching yourself that your emotions don't have to earn permission before they're allowed to exist. The next time someone asks, "What's wrong?" maybe the hardest and most life-changing thing you could say isn't a perfect explanation. Maybe it's simply, "Something hurt me, and I'm trying to find the words." Because healing doesn't begin the moment you have all the answers. It begins the moment you stop believing your pain has to stay silent.